Welcome to the Labrynth to Lord Stanley Cup Playoff Action. My name is Chris Ransom. I run Draft Utopia, and for the next few days until the Stanley Cup winner is crowned, I'll be doing my exclusive coverage for the Labrynth to Lord Stanley. There will be excessive hockey talk and a playoff beard. Those are the only two things that are going to be going on. Yep. So, first game featured the Minnesota Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks. The Wild scored first. Cal Clutterbuck's wrist shot set the tone of the game early at the United Center. You have to be impressed with the Wild's ability to keep Chicago in check for 20 minutes. Marian Hossa's power play goal set the tempo, and Chicago tied the game up at 1 apiece. Wild defenseman Ryan Sutter failed to execute his assignment, giving Chicago an opportunity to strike. And in overtime, Brian Bickle, he shot the puck between Josh Harding's legs. Victor Sahlberg's playmaking gave Bickle the opportunity to put the Blackhawks over the top, and the Blackhawks get that early Game 1 win. And there were two factors that led to Chicago's victory. The first was the penalty killing, and just the way Chicago dominated in the PK department. 0 for 4, the Wild went 0 for 4 on the power play, and that's because Chicago's penalty killing showed up. They limited the Minnesota Wild to 7 shots or less in each of the periods, including the overtime period. To top that off, the Blackhawks playmakers showed up. Usually it's the centers that do the dishing, the playmaking. They pass the puck to the wingers, and the wingers score. Well, tonight, the Blackhawks wingers passed the puck to the centers, and the centers in the middle of the ice acted as the snipers shooting the puck towards the net, and that allowed Chicago to score. And really, Chicago outplayed Minnesota for most of this game. The Cal Clutterbuck wrist shot early in the first period is what gave the Minnesota Wild hope. It gave Minnesota that optimism, and then Chicago took that optimism away from Minnesota when Marian Hossa scored the power play goal. And the game kept going back and forth. Minnesota kept putting up a fight. In the end, Chicago, they end up winning this game in overtime, and they take Game 1 in the series. Second game featured the Los Angeles Kings and the St. Louis Blues. Seemed like a game where you could look at it from two different perspectives. The Los Angeles Kings lose it with poor penalty killing and lousy goaltending, or did Alexander win it with his 2 goals? To say it was lousy goaltending, that seems like a bit of a poor argument, because Jonathan Quick was 40 for 42 when making saves in terms of save percentage. The reason I think he had poor goaltending is because the play at overtime, where Alexander Steen, he catches Quick off guard and scores the game-winning goal for the Blues. I'm knocking Jonathan Quick because of that, because that's such a critical error and such a critical point in the game that you just want to overlook his statistics, the 40 for 42, and you're saying in the heat of the moment, well, he made such a basic error, such a critical mistake at such a wrong time in the game that you have to completely discount his statistics, and you look at the facts that the Kings lost. So we're just going to ignore the 40 for 42. And that's the mindset that most of these Kings fans are in, even though Quick played a hell of a game. Either way, St. Louis deserves some respect for taking Game 1 after getting swept by the Kings last year. And you could say that the Kings lost this game due to poor penalty killing or Jonathan Quick, but Kings got outshot most of the game, so the fact that Quick kept them in deserves some recognition to some extent. And Daryl Sutter and Ken Hitchcock are 2 of the most respected coaches in the NHL. I'm intrigued to see how each coach adjusts to Game 2, because it seemed like this game kept going back and forth defensively. It seemed like Hitchcock had his boys prepared for Game 1, and that LA scored in the last seconds to send the game into overtime. I thought the Kings would gain some momentum and carry that over into overtime. That wasn't the case, and the Blues ended up taking Game 1. The final game featured the Detroit Red Wings and the Anaheim Ducks. This game went back and forth with 2 power play goals by each team, and the Teemu Selanne power play goal in the third period is what put the Anaheim Ducks over the top. They scored a power play goal that gave the Ducks the 2-1 win. There were 3 power play goals in this game, lousy penalty killing, and my impression is that Detroit or Anaheim, whoever wins this series, is probably going to lose in the Western Conference semifinals. Correction there for a second. The Western Conference semifinals to the St. Louis Blues or San Jose Sharks. I don't trust either one of these teams to get to the Western Conference finals because you got to have good penalty killing in these post-NHL playoffs in order to get to the Stanley Cup. And even though these teams have depth at the wing on offense with the scorers, I don't know if they have the defense to compensate for that. And there's a lot of competitive teams in the Western Conference. So there's no guarantee that either one of these teams makes the Cup to begin with. Thanks for listening to Labrynth the Lord Stanley. For more NHL playoff action, you can check out the Hockey Utopia section at draftutopia.com. This is Chris Ransom for Draft Utopia signing out.